Thanks very much for joining me today. I'm Doug Goldstein. One of the topics that I deal with a lot is handling investments for people who are nearing retirement or retired and sometimes well into their retirement. But one of the big problems that people have is they just simply don't organize their affairs. So no matter how well we deal with their investments, that's all worth pretty much nothing if the long-term results of what people want to happen with their money doesn't actually happen. So we spend a lot of time working with lawyers and accountants and, well, lawyers in particular, because that's a topic for today, especially people like Mirit Hoffman. Mirit has been in the business for over 25 years and specializes in elder law and, and estate law. So Mirit, I just want to start by asking, what does that mean, elder law and estate law?
Okay, so it's basically helping people, usually senior citizens, when they reach major junctions in their lives. So we're talking about preparing wills, for instance, or preparing enduring power of attorneys or guardianship if they don't have an enduring power of attorney in place. Dealing with estate planning is basically making sure that whatever they want gets either passed on to the next generation or however they want to do it, making those decisions while they're still mentally capable of doing so. And also, on the other hand, and also one more thing, taking care of themselves also when they're no longer mentally capable. So staying in control, basically.
Okay, so let's dive in. You have now touched on a huge number of topics, but very briefly. And so now I'd like to dive in a little bit further. Let's just start with one of the most, I would say, one of the most important documents that I see people don't have, which in English we would call an enduring power of attorney or a durable power of attorney. But first of all, tell us how we say it in Hebrew and what it really means and why it's so new now.
Okay. So the enduring or durable power of attorney in Hebrew is called Yipui Koach Mitmashech. You only hear about it now because it's still relatively new in Israel. It's from 2018. And that means that before that, there was guardianship, which if you want, I can touch about that a little bit later. But in general, the enduring power of attorney is a document that you basically organize yourself in advance, meaning you're preparing with this document in advance when you're fully mentally capable of handling your own affairs for an unknown future if, God forbid, you won't be able to handle it anymore. And through this document, you appoint who will be able to act on your behalf and what kind of instructions you would like to give them.
Okay, so why is it important that it's durable? What's new about that these days?
Well, it's not a regular power of attorney. The regular power of attorney, a lot of people have regular power of attorney. Sometimes they have regular power of attorneys even in the bank themselves. They have signature authority on their bank with their children, or they give somebody a regular power of attorney. The most common one is when you give a lawyer a power of attorney if you want to sell or purchase a house, right? That it's different because a regular power of attorney is a document that basically expires when you're no longer mentally capable of handling your own affairs. The enduring power of attorney is a document that only is activated when you're no longer mentally capable of handling your own affairs. And it's a specific document that deals with that specific issue when that happens and if that happens.
So just to clarify, you say it springs into action only when you are no longer capable. In fact, in America, I think we used to call that a springing power of attorney.
Okay.
That means that if someone sets up a durable power of attorney today, it has no effect until the point where he or she becomes incapable to handle his or her own affairs.
Exactly. I mean, let's say take into consideration like insurance, right? House insurance, car insurance, you're preparing it now for hopefully never to have to use it. But if you're in a car accident, you're very happy that you have your car insurance, right? So it's the same thing like with the durable power of attorney, except this time it's about your life, which should be really, really important to you. So you're preparing it now, it's not activated now. You're preparing it, you're setting yourself up for a time that if God forbid something happens, you have it already in place.
And what specifically are the powers that are normally granted through the enduring power of attorney, or again, we'll use the Hebrew term so people learn it, ipui koach mitmashech.
So the enduring power of attorney handles three main issues. It handles your personal affairs. For instance, would you like to stay at home with a caregiver at that case, or would you like to be moved to a facility? And it handles your financial affairs, like being in touch with you, for instance, or being in touch with the bank or any other investment advisor or the accountant. By the way, very important to say that the financial issues are regarding financial issues in Israel only, meaning if you have assets in America, that's a different ballgame for your financials. And medical issues, again, it's handling your medical issues in Israel, being in touch with the doctor, taking you for blood tests, or God forbid to hospital, all that stuff.
Yeah, I think that's very important. We always tell our clients who have U.S. brokerage accounts or IRA accounts through us that it's great that you're doing the Ipui Koach Mitmashech, the durable power of attorney in Israel. But at the same time, we need to just set up something in America so that someone else will be able to speak on your behalf for your U.S. portfolio. I
Perfect,
think it's important to
exactly.
realize that it doesn't instantly cover everything. So don't relax once you sign off on the durable power of attorney. Rather, that's just the first step, and make sure that all of your assets are covered. If someone, let's say, has in the bank, sometimes the banks here in Israel have their own document. Does one overtake the other one, or can they both work in parallel?
I don't think the bank doesn't have a durable power of attorney. The bank might have a longevity clause, which is a different thing. If you want, we can discuss what that means. But the durable power of attorney is a document that is prepared by a lawyer and has to be, not every lawyer is entitled to prepare this document. It has to be a special lawyer that went through special specification to be able to handle these, to be able to prepare a durable power of attorney and file a durable power of attorney. The banks don't deal with it. There's no specific form from the bank for that.
Okay, since we mentioned it, let's talk about the Arechat Yamim, the longevity clause. Can you just explain what that is?
Yeah. Seif Arichut Yamim, longevity clause, is basically a document that enables, when we're talking about joint accounts, let's say a couple, okay, just make it easier. So when one spouse passes away, the remaining spouse will be able to still handle his affairs to a certain degree, meaning the account won't be completely frozen. It will be just limited. And I'll explain a little bit what I mean. When one passes away, one spouse passes away, it doesn't mean automatically for a joint account that the remaining spouse gets the entire account. There has to be what is called a probate, either a probate of a will or a probate of inheritance. And that can take time. That could take anything between sometimes 2 to 4 months until a probate is issued. Until that happens, the bank will freeze the account entirely, even though it's a joint account. In order to make sure that that doesn't happen, it's very important to have a longevity clause at the bank, which will enable the remaining spouse to still, very limited, but still be able to, grocery shopping and pay any bills. It won't be able to transfer the entire amount to his name, but will be able to live off, that money until a probate has been issued.
So we always tell people it's very important. You just pop into your bank and make sure that you have in fact signed an Arechat Yamim, a longevity clause, with your joint account with your spouse, because that just makes sure that you'll have access to the money if, God forbid, your spouse should die. Mirit, let's go back to something you touched on before. You mentioned the word guardianship, and we're talking about a durable power of attorney. Can you explain the difference and when one is used versus the other?
Sure. So again, as I explained, the durable power of attorney is a document only from 2018. So people before 2019 that had an issue, or people that do not prepare a durable power of attorney, or it's too late for them, let's say, to prepare a durable power of attorney because they're not mentally 100% capable of signing on documents, then what would happen is that the people would, or a person or family members, whoever, would have to be appointed as a guardian over that person. And that means that guardianship is a whole different ballgame. First of all, you have to be appointed by the court, means it's a court-appointed request. It takes anything between 3 to 5 months to be appointed. And even once you're appointed, there's a lot of limitations. There are limitations on the joint account. There are requirements to file financial reports once a year to report what went out of the account. It's a bureaucratic system. It's more difficult. It's less fun, and it's a lot of imposing on the people that are left behind to take care of these issues. And that's why people prefer to prepare an enduring power of attorney. Do you want me to explain why? The three main
Yeah, for sure. I think it's important.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of this, so I'm very happy that you're talking about it, because hoping as a result of this, more people will go ahead and actually complete this document.
Actually, I have a story if you want, if we have some time about that.
I love stories.
So regarding there are three main differences between an enduring power of attorney and guardianship. The first is that the enduring power of attorney, as I explained, is a document that we prepare in advance, meaning we are in control of who we would like to appoint and what kinds of instructions we would like to give that person or people. Whereas with guardianship, it's done when the person is no longer mentally capable. So everything is done, so to speak, above his head, meaning the people who are appointed are the ones that hopefully should that person could have requested, would have requested them, but nobody knows. And the instructions are, there's no instructions, meaning the people handle the affairs according to what the person they thought might want or might not want. And there could be a lot of issues with that. I mean, there could be a lot of arguments when one is appointed as a guardian, let's say siblings, etc. The second difference is regarding activating it. Because the enduring power of attorney is a document that we prepare in advance, we file it, it doesn't get activated. When it needs to be activated, the power of attorneys themselves activate it through an online system. There's no need for a lawyer. It takes anything between 7 to 10 days, and if it's urgent, it's even beforehand. Whereas with guardianship, it's a court-appointed post, so to speak, or so then it takes between anything between 3 to 5 months. That's a very big difference. The other thing, the third main difference is regarding financial reports. Because the enduring power of attorney is a document which is based on trust between you and the family members that you appointed, or the close friends that you appointed, there's no requirement to file financial reports. Whereas with guardianship, you have to file financial reports once a year, reporting what went out of the person's account and why. And that could be, a big deal for people.
Right. I've certainly seen people who have had to deal with the guardianship in the office of the apotropos, and they don't normally tell very good stories. So, but you said you had a story. Tell me.
Yes, I did. So I had a couple of weeks ago a meeting with a person, and he brought his son with him, and they were discussing the idea of guardianship for the wife, the mother. And we had a whole discussion about what that means and what it entails, and the fact that they have a joint account. The joint account may be limited, even though it's a joint account. And the bureaucratic hoops that he would have to jump through. And as I'm talking and explaining, it was a whole long meeting of over an hour. I can see the person getting smaller and smaller in his chair. And it was really heartbreaking to see him. And he basically said to me at some point, he said, like, I don't understand. I have to take care of my wife right now. That's time consuming as it is, and really emotionally draining. And now instead of that, or on top of that, I have to go through all these hoops of jumping through in order to deal with guardianship for her benefit. And then he said, wait a minute, is there something I can do for myself now to make sure that my children don't have to go through this? And so we discussed the whole idea of enduring power of attorney. And he said, I don't understand why nobody has that. And we immediately set a time to meet, and we're ready, nearly finished preparing his enduring power of attorney.
Yeah. So I hope that, they say a smart person learns from his mistakes, but a wise person learns from other people's mistakes. So hopefully by hearing that story, other people will learn from that mistake. So let's go a little further into the progression. Someone, let's say, has set up a durable power of attorney or even guardianship, and then the person dies. What happens at that point?
Okay, very good. So regarding enduring power of attorney, I think guardianship is the same. They have 90 days to still act as the power of attorney. But it's basically only to close up financial issues, meaning to pay any outstanding bills. If they have rental issues, let's say the apartment was rented out, so deal with the rental payments, deal with burial expenses, etc. Taking into consideration that within 2 to 4 months, sometimes it takes until a will has been probated, and then they act as the heirs. And then they, as heirs, they go to the bank account or to the bank, and they say, okay, according to the will, everything gets transferred to me. So now the account will be fully in my name. The same thing regarding an apartment. They may go to the taboo and get the apartment registered in their name according to whatever it is that the will said.
Got it. So a lot of people, I think, are new to these sort of documents, and the document everyone's always heard of just because of the movies is a will. So how is it that a will kind of fits into this? Can a person just do a will? A lot of people say, well, I wrote a will. Of course, a lot of times I hear, well, we wrote a will 20 years ago, 30 years ago, before we made Aliyah. And I say things, does it still apply? He goes, I think so. And I always say, maybe you want to pull it out and read it. One of the things I often recommend to clients is really two things. Is one, you should just read your will. Wills, as opposed to other contracts, are not, they shouldn't be too complicated. It should be something, especially your own will, you should be able to read it and understand what's going to happen. And the second thing I always tell people is, if you'd like, for clients, you can send me a copy of the will. I explain that I'm not a lawyer, so I cannot give any legal advice. But ultimately, as the financial company, we're the ones who are involved in executing the will. We're the ones who say, okay, give us the instructions. We're going to divide up the money, and this goes to your wife, or this goes to your children, or whoever you wanted. We're the ones who actually handle it. So it's a good idea to show us a copy of the will before you finalize it, so that we can give comments to make sure that it's actually written in a way that's not that's written in a way that will apply to the assets that you have through our company, because that's what we know. And a lot of people often think, oh, I left America. The only thing I have there is a brokerage account. Do I need an American will for that? And they always feel much better when we say, no, it's not a problem. We're happy to accept your Israeli will as long as you have an official translation into English or it's written in English. So it makes them feel better. But we always want to just make sure it's done properly. So tell us at what point people should really be working on the will, the power of attorney. Is this all done at once? What do you recommend to people in general?
Okay, so look, life is complicated and nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow, especially now we have a war. I mean, who knew, right? So wills, as you said, very rightly so, wills should be updated accordingly. Meaning the will that you prepared in your 30s, 20s, 30s are, you had children, most of them were minors, or maybe all of them were minors, and you had different things that you were worried about regarding the will. As you get older, you might accumulate more assets and you might want the division to be different. And when you're older, Bichlal, you might want to give to charity or to grandchildren. So wills really should be updated periodically. You have to, as you said, you should read your will, see if it still applies. At the end of the day, the last will that you prepared is the one that gets probated and it cancels all other prior wills. So that's one thing that should really be important to understand. Regarding when to prepare it, I mean, you should prepare it when you feel that you need to update it, really. And regarding the enduring power of attorney or the durable power of attorney, I think people, some people feel that when they are discussing with you, let's say in retirement issues, they want to sort of have an estate plan in place and just get everything ready. So that would be a good time to also think about maybe updating your will and discussing the enduring power of attorney. But I also have clients who are much younger. If they know they are terminally ill with something, they're still mentally competent, but they're worried about something that may happen sooner rather than later, then they prepare that in advance, unfortunately. Or people, now the word's a little bit different, but people who are on the red eye, people who are flying a lot, were doing a lot of things, or people that were that were worried about something that might happen to them on flight, before flight, whatever, they prepared the enduring power of attorney just to make sure that they are covered in the event of an accident, God forbid.
Okay, well, that was a very nice answer. I was simply going to say yesterday, but if you didn't do it yesterday, do it now, because we all have clients. I mean, for those of us in this space, I've worked with clients in their 40s and they had a stroke and all of a sudden everything changed. And then it was too late.
Or a car accident, you never know.
At some point, you're going to do this. So you may as well do it now. And there are certainly people who can help you out. Mirit, we've covered a lot, but in the last minute, could you just tell people what you do and how they can get in contact with you?
Okay, sure. So as I explained, I do estate planning is wills and enduring power of attorney and guardianship. By the way, we didn't touch it, but financial agreements or prenups for second or third relationships, which is also part of the estate planning. I'm very happy for people to call me up or WhatsApp me. My phone number is 0522-407-999. They can also email me. It's Mirit, M-I-R-I-T, at lawmirit.com. And also, of course, my website is miritlaw.com, which is pretty simple to remember, and they can get all my information through there as well.
Okay, and we will put links to all of that at the show notes of today's show at goldsteinongelt.com. Mirit Hoffman, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me.